This week on Rockstar Superhero. The legend of Alcatrazz goes without saying. The band has created some timeless music and sprouted a few of the most famous instrumentalists in the history of rock music. They are a tower of achievement, existing in a space few musical acts dwell. Alcatrazz has existed in one form or another for 35 years, and tomorrow, the band will release their 5th album, the appropriately titled 5, or V if you're Roman. By the grace of God, I was given the opportunity to chat with iconic frontman Doogie White, the face and voice of this classic transatlantic metal wonder. Doogie was all the things I crave in a conversation. He was funny, witty, clearly appreciative of his role in the band, and above all, kind. Yes, that's a really big deal. Doogie is proof that being prepared for the moment should still require one to be grateful for this life as well. Without saying anything else, let's get to it. This is Doogie White, the man with the soaring vocal range that crushes 1,000 ancient warriors. This is Alcatrazz on the Rockstar Superhero Podcast. This is one of those amazing moments in my life when I heard from the promo company that you guys were going to be doing press. My heart literally stopped. I begged them everything I could to get in touch with you guys. And then as it happens, I get the man himself. So thanks for being on the show, Doogie. It's awesome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. If you don't mind, let's start with some basics. We'll get to the new release. I want to talk about that. I think, it's obviously fantastic. But one of the things that's, sort of it's part of my show is the formation of the artist. I'm curious how it started for you. I don't want to necessarily get into the obvious things like influences, but at the same time, given our mutual age range, we're both in the same relative space here. There are clear catalysts in our lives, right? There's things that happen to us, whether it's the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, or, in my case, it was actually Paul Revere and the Raiders that was a huge influence for me. So I'm curious about, what it was for you. What was the moment? Was it family? Was it something esoteric? Do you mind giving us a little personal history?
It was voices, really. Excuse me. It was voices, really. I just loved voices. I didn't grow up in a musical household at all. I mean, I think I was 8 years old before I got my first single.
Wow.
And someone had given us a little record player, and it was one of those ones where you stack the singles up.
Yeah.
And we went to Mill's record store, and I didn't know what the song was called, but I could sing it. I said, it sings, "Cheer up, sleepy Jean," and then, oh, that's the Monkees, right?
Wonderful.
So I got the Monkees Daydream Believer single, and my mother bought Engelbert Humperdinck, Please Release Me, and it was 10 guitars that was in the B side of that. So that was all we had in the house for a long, long time. And but I loved Engelbert's voice, Tom Jones' voice, Davy Jones' voice,
yes,
Davy Jones, who became Bowie. I loved his voice, and it was voices for me, and harmonies. And I remember hearing the Bee Gees in their early years doing a song called Massachusetts, and it was just wow, that's just it's glorious. The noise, and it doesn't matter. I would not say the Iggy Pop is the greatest singer in the world, but my God, what a racket he makes!
Oh my God!
And the same with Neil Young. If you compare these guys to the Michael McDonalds or the James Ingrams or whatever, these guys were uniquely brilliant just because they had so much else to offer.
Yeah.
Willie Nelson. I mean, Willie Nelson. I sat and watched a concert with Willie Nelson on the television the other night. You know, and he just stands there and plays this beat-up old guitar and just sings. But you feel it. And
Yeah.
I think that voices do that for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how diverse your taste is. I mean, it proves that you're paying attention to the exact thing that you say you are, which is, you know, you mentioned Tom Jones a moment ago.
Yeah.
And Tom Jones was he was the barometer. He was the thing that started it for me personally. When I heard his cover of I Can't Turn You Loose,
yeah,
that was the first time that my brother and I, we used to actually do, what do they call it? Air guitar, air drums, that sort of thing for family members. You know, my parents would have a dinner party and we would all of a sudden bring a fake drum set out and a fake guitar and we would just start doing these performances. But yeah, Tom Jones had some magic. And like you said, these other guys, they don't necessarily have these beautiful voices, but they have that it factor that is so, right, it's unparalleled. Freddie Mercury, everybody says, you know, Freddie Mercury, the greatest frontman of all time. I don't know if that's true, but I will say this, that as interesting and as clearly talented as he was, he didn't have a perfect voice, but he had a perfect voice for Freddie Mercury, if that makes sense. You know?
But that's what you find. No one sounds like Freddie, right?
Yeah.
No one sounds like Elton John. Many people tried to sound like David Bowie, you know,
Yeah.
and we could sit here and rhyme them off.
Yeah.
These days, when I'm listening to singers in the rock field, they're all crossing over between David Coverdale and Ronnie Dio, which is no bad thing.
Yeah.
Which is no bad thing. But it's, you know, when you look at Robert Plant, right? Robert Plant. No one sounds like Robert Plant.
No.
Nobody sounds like Ozzy. Nobody sounded like Ronnie James Dio. I mean, it's, you know, and I think if you didn't have Elvis, you wouldn't have had Ian Gillan.
Yes.
Ian Gillan, you wouldn't have had Bruce Dickinson.
Yeah.
You know, because it's three forks, three prongs of the same fork. They loved that kind of thing, and they had that tone and that orchestra in their voices that not many people have.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's interesting that you say this, though. I'm obviously, again, hesitant. I don't want to use any references to the things that have come from the past with you. But now that you're in Alcatrazz, you know what I mean? Here you're in this incredible band, this band with a lot of history, a lot of legacy, a lot of dissonance, right? A lot of different things that have happened over the years. And does it trouble you when people compare you to what the band has done in the past? Or, you know, do you find it frustrating when people compare your voice to the voice of others?
Not really. I you know, Graham's an old friend of mine. I've known Graham for 25 years. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was in a band called Rainbow with Richie Blackmore.
Yeah.
And we were in Kansas.
Just a little band.
Just a small
a little combo.
Yeah, guitar player might do well or otherwise. And he
Lord.
He said to me during soundcheck, he said, I think we'll do All Night Long tonight. And I said, but we've never rehearsed it. And he says, it doesn't matter, you know it. And that's what it always was. Graham's another one of those guys who's so unique in his sound.
Yeah. And
his delivery that I can still hear the band laughing and going, well, we're never going to do that, are we? Because I don't think that when you have these great singers with these unique voices, I mean, we all pull from different wells to get the sound that we have. And if you want to go into that with me later on, then we can do. But we all pull from different wells. But there's nothing that Graham does that I can replicate.
Yeah.
You know, and I said to him one time after I'd been in Yngwie's band and I had to sing Too Young to Die, Too Drunk to Live and Hiroshima Mon Amour, and I said to him, you know, Graham, come here, I'm going to have to punch you on the nose. And I said, why do you do that? He says, I don't know. He says, because when I do it, I go into the studio and deliver what I think's going to work. And he says, then I forget I have to sing it 5 nights a week. And that's true. Graham's always been one that's been and that's why I'm spending time now we're doing older Alcatrazz songs, and I have to find a way to be able to sing these to make them convincing for myself. And if I can do it and convince myself, I'm not going to sound like Graham doing it. No. In the same way that Ronnie didn't sound like Ozzy, or Bruce didn't sound like Diano, or Sammy didn't sound like Dave Lee Roth. You have to find your own voice to be able to sing these songs. And that's what I'm doing at the moment.
Yeah, but fortunately it's you, right? I mean, we're talking to Doogie. I mean, this is a man with a voice, with a generational voice. You have something unique and powerful. And, even though obviously I don't know you in the sense of personally, here I am talking to you, but you bring legacy with you. I'm not saying that you just joined legacy, right? The Alcatrazz name is clearly a significant name in the annals of music. This is a big deal, but you have this voice that was very desirable, that it's been out there, that you again, playing with Ritchie Blackmore or Yngwie. These are incredible opportunities that nobody gets a chance to do. And you were invited. It's amazing.
Yes, but people say that, and I mean, I know what I'm capable of doing, and I know what my good points are, and I know what my bad points are. But we don't need to discuss them.
That's true.
But no one ever turns around to David Coverdale and says, "Man, you were really lucky to get that gig with Deep Purple."
No, absolutely.
They ever turned around to Ronnie Dio and said, "Ronnie, you were really lucky to get that gig with Rainbow." Yeah. But it seems to be a theme with me that people seem to think that I just sort of lucked into these things.
Yeah.
But these guys would not have asked me to do this if I wasn't any good at it.
Yeah.
And they hunted me down. I mean, Ritchie hunted me down, Yngwie hunted me down, Michael Schenker hunted me down.
Yeah.
Alcatrazz hunted me down. I'm not here. If I wasn't good at what I do, then I wouldn't be here.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
And I guess there's an element of luck in there as well, because it's just the planets aligning at the right time. I mean, there's guys out there that could wipe the floor with me, and I know that. But they made different decisions in their lives, and a pram in the hallway is no substitute for a Marshall stack.
Yeah. Wow. That is profound. I hope if I said that wrong, I hope it didn't offend you, because that wasn't.
No.
Okay.
It's a theme that goes through just now, because I'm doing a lot of interviews for various things, and, and it's journeyman Doogie White, or vocal for hire Doogie White. And it's not really like that.
No, you're not a session guy.
I mean, I have done sessions in the past, but, and everybody always mentions, Yngwie always goes after, Ritchie's cast-offs, right? But Tony Iommi had Ian Gillan, Ronnie Dio, Glenn Hughes, Cozy Powell. So it's just a perception thing, and when people perceive you in a certain way, then I can't do anything about that.
Yeah. But you were prepared for a moment, right? I mean, that's the whole point. You had this innate skill. You loved music. I imagine you've sung your whole life. And then there's this moment where you're in the right place at the right time. Somebody heard you and said, that's the man you need in your world. And then, the byproduct of those relationships is it builds, because, right? Isn't life about relationships? Isn't it? I mean,
I think so. I think these days, it's changed. I mean, I joined Ritchie back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
I think it's different now, because maybe he didn't have the choice of 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 singers that he could just go to YouTube and go, nah. Whereas, he heard me and he thought, oh, actually, I can work with this guy. And my only rule of thumb really is to turn up, know my lines, turn up sober, and don't be an arsehole.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's because I'm well aware that it's not my name that's selling the ticket, and I'm fine with that. You know, I'm fine with that. You know, I never wanted to be a rock star. I just wanted to sing. But I love working with rock stars.
Yeah,
I love working with great guitar players. And I'm fortunate enough now that we've got a great guitar player in Alcatrazz. I mean, Joe Stump is just blinding.
Mind-blowing.
He combines a lot of elements in his guitar playing. I mean, he can shred with the best of them, you know.
Yeah.
But he also carries this element of melody and just knowing the right note at the right time. And he'll put a wee tune in, and then he'll go off and he'll shred for the people who love that kind of stuff, but then he'll bring it back to something that's very composed, elegant, and beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. I love everything you're saying here, but I have to address one thing that I think is a big unspoken thing. When we first started this conversation today, before we started rolling, it was very evident right off the bat that you were a good, kind man. And I don't want to make light of that, because it's important for people to realize that in this business, with 10 million, quote unquote, more talented or more qualified musicians in the world, a huge component of becoming part of something historical, right, of actually having a legacy, is actually being easy to work with. To be kind, to be talented, to show up, to do your job, to keep your head down, but to be kind and loving. People want to be around great people and great energy. They don't want to be around negativity. It doesn't work. So
I agree. And I mean, I think when you're younger, and I mean, especially back in the sort of mid to late 80s, you know, when all these early hair bands was all sort of kicking around, everybody thought that that's how you had to behave.
Yeah.
You know, and but that was never my bag. I just wanted to get up and entertain people, and get up and have fun and sing and see and challenge myself.
Yeah.
With, you know, because I played in a couple of bands where we would do original stuff and then we would do a couple of covers. And you know, and if we were doing Feels Like the First Time by Foreigner, I wanted to make it the best Feels Like the First Time by Foreigner that anybody done since Lou Gramm sang it, you know.
Yeah.
And I was learning all the time. I learned from all these guys. And I always picked voices that I felt that were in the same timbre as me. You know, which is why I never listened to bands like Judas Priest, because I don't, or Rush, because I don't have a voice like that. And I wanted to learn. And it doesn't matter. I could study vocals for the next 30 years and I'd never be able to sing like Geddy or Rob, you know? And
you shouldn't.
So I went, and especially during that hair time, I found no joy in any of those singers particularly. So I went off and I listened to James Ingram and Michael McDonald and Terence Trent D'Arby. And
oh my God.
And these guys who had something that I could learn from and maybe perhaps bring that into the music that I was doing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But metal and heavy rock is it's not a closed shop, but once you're known for something, you know, it's interesting because if Tony Martin had got the Alcatrazz gig, right? Everybody would have said, it's Alcatrazz, but my God, it's got elements of Black Sabbath in there. If Ripper had got the gig, they would have said, oh, it's Alcatrazz, but it's got elements of Judas Priest in there. You know, so I'm quite happy that they're sitting down and going, hey, man, you know, it's Alcatrazz, but it's got elements of Rainbow and a wee bit of Deep Purple in there. And that's just how it is.
Yeah. Yeah. People always want to categorize. They can't help themselves. It brings familiarity.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
And if people like to think that some of the songs are purple or rainbow-esque, then I'm more than happy to take that.
Yeah, that's a good flag to be carrying. You had said in the early parts here that, you know, you really didn't come from a musical family. No. But did your parents encourage you to do music, or did they actually warn you of its potential peril?
No, I was never. I mean, my mother used to drive me around. I bought a microphone and a PA system when I got my first job. That was the first thing I did.
Wow.
And she used to drive the PA system and the drum kits for the band round and take us down to the dog training hall. It was never encouraged. I mean, from the ages of 16 to 22, I was a coach builder. You know, I used to build lorries and buses and things.
Wow.
And I worked for the railways, repairing trains and train carriages. Mm-hmm. And then I went and worked for the social work and education department there as well. But I was always, there was a big music scene in Scotland, but it never went anywhere particularly. I mean, we had Nazareth,
right?
The sensational Alex Harvey band and the Average White band. Mm-hmm. You know,
Bay City Rollers.
You know, so, but there wasn't really anywhere for us to get out, really. Yeah. So I was told, get a trade behind you. People will always need their cars fixed. Either that or be an undertaker, because they'll always need to bury their dead.
Interesting.
Those were
those were your fallbacks.
Yeah, that was the option, really.
Oh my gosh. Well, no, I mean, that makes sense. It's the same way here. You know, they tell you if you don't, you know, you should get an education, go to school, but, you know, make sure you have something to fall back on, because as we all know, there's a million wannabes and one that's going to, in a sense, break and have some sort of legacy. But the problem with the music business, and I don't want to get off target here too much, but the problem with music business is the idea nowadays that it's about the celebrity. It's about the isms of getting in the business. It's not about the art that we're talking about.
See, I don't know if I mean, I get that for pop music, but I think that was always the same for pop music.
Yeah.
You know, I think you had to have the right hair and you had to have the right clothes and you had to have this and that, the next thing. Yeah. But I think that fans of rock music, and but it's all been split into genres now, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. You know, whether you love Van Halen or Meatloaf or Uriah Heep.
Oh my God.
Whoever it is, man, you know, that's all one big bubble for me. I never categorize it, you know. So, but I think that the rock guys can see beyond that, beyond the celebrity aspect of it. I think so long as you get up there and you deliver, and I always wanted to be David Coverdale. You know, I just thought that would be brilliant, wouldn't it? Look how brilliant he is, or Freddie, you know, or be in a band like AC/DC when you've got that such a noise coming off the stage, mm-hmm. and that crazy little schoolboy guitar player doing these crazy things. That, so long as you can touch people like that and hit them in the face the way Maiden do, or the way Priest do, you know, I don't think that you can go wrong.
Yeah.
But the celebrity thing's never interested me, man. Yeah. You know, I only have a Facebook account because somebody was pretending to be me.
Oh my God.
I know. Isn't that weird? Who'd want to be me? But luckily on my Facebook site, I got an email or a message from somebody saying, "Is this you?" And it was a guy pretending to be me, saying that during lockdown I was really struggling and could you send me $100?
Oh my God.
You know, so if he's doing that, you know, if these guys are doing that, you know, I think that, you know, that's not how I see myself.
Yeah.
So I just like to sing. I like to sing and I like to perform and I like to travel. I mean, the great thing about being in bands and working with these great musicians is that it's a passport to the world. I've got to places that I would never have ever gone to.
Yeah.
You know, the strangest places, you know, and the most beautiful places. You know, I've probably been to more places in America in the last 5 or 6 years than most Americans have ever been to.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yep. We tend to stick to our state, so to speak.
Yeah. And I love it. And I love it. And I always get off the bus in the morning and I just wander around the town and see what's going on and come back and do my sound check, do my gig, get on the bus and go to the next town and see what happens.
Oh, man. Have you been to Seattle before?
Oh yes. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
When you come again, I'm going to walk up to the stage. Oh, because you're so nice, man. I'm having such a good time. I think I'll accidentally keep you a little too long, so I got to keep going here. Look, I want to go straight for the throat here, but the Alcatrazz opportunity, when it first came your way, did it hit you immediately what a torch you'd be carrying? That flag I mentioned before, realizing that there's so much potency with that name. How did it feel?
We need to go back 3 years. 3 years on Sunday.
Okay. Wow.
Alcatrazz were playing up here in Edinburgh. And Graham, and as I said, Graham's been a friend of mine for a long time.
Yeah.
And he phoned me up, or his manager phoned me up and said, look, can you come and take Graham and walk him around the town and, stop him from getting bored?
keep him out of trouble.
Take him for a coffee and a cake. So we did.
Yeah.
And we wandered around by Edinburgh Castle and down in the Royal Mile and things. And he just said to me, I'm hating this. I hate this. I never liked Alcatrazz music when Yngwie was in it or when Vi was in it, and I'm not enjoying it now. And I said, well, what do you want to do? He says, I don't know. I said, well, why don't you just, you're 72 or 73 years old, he was at the time. I said, you're a legend. You still sing brilliantly.
Yeah.
You write a great tune. Why don't you just go and do something that might make you happy? And so he went and did the Born Innocent. They went and recorded the Born Innocent album together. And just as I was finishing an album for Frontiers called Long Shadows Dawn, is the project's name. And the album's called Isle of Wrath. Just as I was finishing that, coming up to Christmas, the Alcatrazz guys contacted me and says, Graham's left. Would you like to do the tour dates that we've got booked in to support the Born Innocent album? And I said, okay. But of course, the dates all got cancelled.
Yeah.
And I said, well, rather than just sit around and wait, why don't we write a new album? I mean, if Graham's really gone, if he's gone and he's not coming back, why don't we just go and write an album, see what happens? And the result's been stunning.
Yeah.
The result's been, one of the happiest recording experiences. I mean, we did it all remotely because of COVID, but we did it all remotely. But it's one of the most rewarding albums I've done in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's that exciting.
Yeah.
And it was a blank canvas. It was just a blank canvas. Let's see what we can come up with. Let's do it. And that's what we've done. And it comes out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
I know.
I know, and I haven't even seen the sleeve yet.
I have.
I've got the first mixes on my iTunes. That's as much as I've done.
It is incredible. I mean, fortunately, I love the position I'm in because I get to hear a lot of this stuff ahead of time. But it's funny to hear it ahead of you, or to see, I should say, the final product.
Yeah, you have it there.
I do. I do.
Wow.
Yeah. 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 It's incredible. It's an incredible work. And I don't want to brag about it, but it's kind of cool being me sometimes, right? I get to hear some things before everybody else. The hardest part is buttoning my lip because in this business, I'm a loudmouth, right? It's my job to be a loudmouth, to be a beacon, a siren for things I love. But I graduated high school in 1984. So, I mean, I get it. I'm a few years younger than you, but not much. But the point being is that Alcatrazz was this thing that happened. At that time we were talking about Rush and Triumph, and all of a sudden Alcatrazz was a name and was this thing. Yeah. And it was such a game changer. And I didn't realize that style of music, that it wasn't derivative. There was nothing derivative about it. I mean, you could hear the influences of things that had come before it, the Deep Purple and maybe a little bit of Iron Maiden, but it just had its own unique flavor. And of course, I didn't realize at the time, who Yngwie was. This was before, he had jumped off and did his own thing. I just knew it was this band. They were doing this thing. And I love the vocals. But all that being said, here we are. And we're talking about this new record. And it's fully evolved now. I can still hear when I put on that first track before I did any research about talking to you today. I was just instantly transported to, my senior year of high school. and they can be great memories or awful memories. Yeah. But for me, they were great memories. It was just like, oh my gosh, I remember being in band and, I'm a drummer. We were always talking about the drums of various records we were listening to, the Journey stuff from, 75, everything that we were doing. And that Alcatrazz thing came out and my friend Scott brought it in and spun the record in our band room. And we were all just completely floored by how incredible and powerful it is. And then I hear, are you calling it V or 5? I'm assuming it's 5.
Well, it can be anything.
Okay.
I was thinking V for victorious.
Oh, see, I like that too.
Or vengeance.
Okay.
Or whatever V you want to put in there.
Very badass.
Yeah, very badass. That'll look good in the t-shirt.
Well, I will tell you that when I heard this, like I said, it took me back, but it sounds so present. I mean, again, we're using modern sounds, right? Modern mixing techniques. So the album is thicker, it's louder, but I love that. I love that it's still completely dynamic, but it gallops and it moves and it feels so classic, but it's refreshing. So I'm sorry for blowing a little smoke up your tailpipe, but I love it so much I can't stand it. And I hope it's coming off as earnest because there's no pretension here. I love it. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to stop talking about that now.
So do I. I mean, I think it's a great sounding record. I mean, I've done many records in the past, and the songs are always, or I believe the songs to be of good quality and top quality.
Yeah.
But sometimes the mixing or the engineering process lets it down.
Yeah.
But I think this album sounds really, right out the traps, it sounds powerful and it's right in your face.
Yes.
And I like what the guy's done. You wouldn't think that just adding a little touch of reverb would make such a difference to a voice, or a little bit of compression would make such a difference to a voice. But it really does. And this guy's captured my voice. I mean, I recorded everything here at home on my home studio and then sent him the dry files and said, go, make me sound better. Yeah. And he went, okay. And he has done. He's made it sound great. I think it sounds superb.
Yeah. Yeah. And he didn't. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just saying, I think he's done a superb job.
Yeah. Well, he didn't chorus the heck out of your voice, which a lot of producers are still doing today. I've never understood that, but I do love that he's added that reverb, as you mentioned, because that does actually give it that 80s feel, because reverb was such a thing, right, in the mid 80s with the Rev 7 modules. And you remember those. But all that being said, yeah, it sounds tight. It's figuratively and literally, personally and professionally harmonious, right?
It's sonically great. It's sonically great. I mean,
yes.
I mean, I like I said to you, on here, just down here, I just have the final mixes. That's what it says. I mean, they're still numbered up and stuff. But I put it on, and I just listen to it, and I think, do you know what? That sounds really good. I mean, it's everything that just needs to be panned slightly this way or panned slightly that way, or right in your face. It's all there.
Yeah. Well, it's earnest, right? I mean, it's real. There's no pretension in it, as I had mentioned a second ago. And again, I think whether old fans want the way things were, what you've done is you've set the record straight. And I mean that literally. You coming into the band, Joe coming into the band, hasn't altered the way the music sounds. It's embellished. You've push it up another level. And yes, you don't sound like Graham, but you sound like you, and your voice is spectacular. So you make it incredible, Doogie. I know I'm praising you a lot, but I couldn't wait to talk to you. I freaking love your voice. It's phenomenal.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. Getting back to the question though, I'm curious. what's it been like? And I'm not looking for dirt here. I know a lot of people, when bands, go through changes, they're looking to talk about that. I don't care about that. I like, we're here, we're now.
Yeah.
What's it been like being in the group for you personally?
Well, I haven't met any of the guys. I mean, I met them.
Oh,
I met them obviously. I met Jimmy a couple of times. When he was over with the Graham Bonnet band and also with Alcatrazz. I met Joe once, and Mark I've known for a wee while. I've never met Gary. I don't know Gary at all. We've exchanged a couple of emails because they're all in America, and I'm here in Edinburgh. And the restrictions on travel. We were supposed to go and shoot a couple of videos in Boston about 2 months ago, but I wasn't allowed in.
Wow.
And if I was allowed in, at the point where I was allowed in, I would have to come back and self-isolate for 10 days. And that's at my own expense.
No, thanks.
And I'm not going to sit in a hotel room when I've got a perfectly nice room here.
Yeah, if you can't go, why do any of that, right? I mean,
exactly. So it was just madness. So the first time that we're going to get to be together in a room and actually play together is the 6th of November, which is a week before we do our first gig. So I'm learning the songs now and working through them and finding the way to hit these notes and make them sound different, because they're going to have to be different.
Yeah.
Because I can't roar the way Graham roars.
Right.
For 6 nights in a row. That's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So I'll find a way to make these older songs. We're doing older songs. We're doing 4 or 5 from the new album, and then in the same way that they did with Alcatrazz previously, they did some Graham songs from Rainbow, they did some Graham songs from Malmsteen, they did some Graham, so we're just mixing it up a bit. So we've got a 90-minute set that, we're one album under the belt with 4 or 5 classic Alcatrazz songs, and then the rest is going to be tunes that, whether it'll be Schenker or whether it'll be Rainbow or what it'll be, but there'll be 4 or 5 in there as well of from my back catalogue, and then we'll let Joe go mental and give us one of his as well.
That's great. I would imagine being the front man has, in a sense, it's made you not just the literal voice of the band, but figuratively, right? Meaning, like, people want to talk to you because, in a sense, you represent, the head of the triangle, right? I mean, it's the truth. That
I honestly, I don't know. I mean, I think because they're original members of the band, I think that Jimmy and Gary are doing a lot more interviews than I do. This will only be the 2nd or 3rd interview I've done for this album.
Wow. Thank you.
So no, thank you.
Mind blowing.
Because they've got the history of the band, and if people are interested in the band, I'm not one for throwing dirt around. I mean, I'm always of the opinion, if someone doesn't want to work with you anymore, there's nothing you can do about it. Why go moaning about it?
Yeah.
Let it go. Somebody else. And so I'm happy to talk about the band as much as I know the band, and as much as I can about the new album. I try to explain, if I have to do it, why Graham isn't here anymore. It was his decision. And what do you do? Does the band just go, well, Graham's gone, that's it, over? Or do you say, I mean, it could have been me. They would have got somebody else in. But they asked me. I mean, it could have been anybody.
Yeah.
But they asked me, and I'm very grateful that they did, because I think they've written a great bunch of songs together, put together a good album, and done some interesting videos as well for the tunes. That's 4 now. And we'll see how, when we get into rehearsals, we've got a week of rehearsals. We'll get in there and we'll see how that works. And we'll go out there and we'll do this short run of dates. I mean, we're only talking about a month. And it's 3 weeks.
Yeah.
We'll do that run of dates and see what the response is.
Yeah.
And hopefully, the Alcatrazz fans, the Graham Bonnet fans, the Joe Stump fans, the fans will come along and enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, and take it for what it is. Because if it isn't this Alcatrazz, then there isn't another one.
Well, yeah, but let's hope it's not. I mean, look, you know, the bottom line for me is, as excited as I was to see the Alcatrazz name come into my email box.
Yeah.
What I was really excited about is talking to you.
Well, that's very kind of you, man.
Yeah, I mean, so I have to say this before I let you go. Return to Nevermore.
Yes.
That's the sound I'm talking about.
and I you know, that's got that sort of doom.
Yes.
Massey, Black Sabbath.
So great.
Depth and darkness to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's something. It's not in this set because it's a double headlining. So we get an hour or 70 minutes. And so we're not putting that one in this time round. But I love that. I love that tune.
Yes. Yes.
I love it. It's got that. I mean, I can see 25,000 people at Wacken just doing
this. Yes. Yes.
It's just got that element to it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, if you play at Wacken, I'm going because I want to see that live, but I want to experience the band once in my life in person.
Yeah.
You know.
Me too.
You know, it's I mean, I guess that's what I wanted to say before I let you go is what's it like to be inside of something? I get it. You know, you haven't technically hung out as a band, but what's it like to be inside of this, knowing you're a part of this and you get a piece of this, even if it's just for a moment? You know, is this one of those, you know, feathers in your cap moments, or does this feel like just another thing?
It's an anticipation. There's a nerve. There's a nervous, because I haven't done anything for 20 months, like everybody else. I haven't done anything for 20 months. And that was, you know, and by Christmas last year, that was the longest I had not done a gig. And it's nearly a year forward from that.
Yeah.
You know, because I was always out and about. I mean, I would do 5 months of the year, maybe 6 months of the year with Michael Schenker. Then there's another 6 months where you're not doing anything. So I would go to South America, or I would go to Eastern Europe, or I would go around Europe or Scandinavia or whatever. And I was always working. I could be away for 165 days a year. You know, actually gigging during that period, and then come. But it's been so there's a nervous energy and an excitement and an expectation. I'm not nervous about what people think because I know it'll be good. And they know it'll be good, but it's just whether they will, you know, there'll be 4 or 5 people who won't accept the change, right?
Yeah.
You know, no Graham, no Alcatrazz.
Yeah.
You know.
What are you going to do?
Well, nothing. Or maybe I got a T-shirt printed with that one. You know, I don't know. You know, there are people who have taken on bigger challenges than this and survived, and we've mentioned them all. Brian Johnson, you know, Sammy Hagar, you know, Bruce Dickinson. You know, they've taken on Ronnie. You know, taken on these challenges.
Yeah,
and it's the idea is to bring the audience along with you. So I've got to find a way to have the people be involved and to accept it for what it is.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
you have the voice, Doogie.
Well, I did it with Tank. You know, there was a lot of kickback when I joined Tank, going, "Oh, no Algie, no Tank." We turned up at Sweden Rock Festival, and the people just wanted to see a good rock band.
Yeah.
You know, there was a couple of Tank fans there, and at the end of the show, they come up and thought, "Oh, that was actually really good." And I thought, "Yeah, it was, wasn't it?" And I think that's what it'll be here with Alcatrazz as well.
Yeah.
You know, I'm hopeful that we'll win over anybody who has doubts, and I hope that we win some new fans, and I hope that it encourages people to come back and see the band, so we can come back and do it all again.
Yeah. Well, it's the truth. You've won over so many people already. I mean, just the fact that you're here today you've obviously won me over in the personal sense because you're such an easy and kind man to talk to. My last question, I have to ask this because I forgot about this, but I want to ask, given that you've done so much, when you look at yourself in the mirror, can you believe this is your life?
Some mornings I wake up and I laugh and I think, what a lucky boy you are, Douglas. You know, it's been a fascinating, wonderful, enjoyable journey. And the good thing is that it ain't over yet. You know, it's not over yet by a country mile. And I will continue to do this as long as people want to hear what I write and what I sing, as long as people want to come and see me perform, then I will continue to do that. As long as there are people out there who are interested and enjoy what I do, then I will continue to do it. But I go out and I walk my dog, I do the garden, I pick up the dog shit, I put the weeds in the garden, I do the shopping,
You're human.
I buy, the only thing I don't do is ironing, because I buy clothes that don't need ironing. I'm not very good at that.
Leather and vinyl never needs to be ironed.
Never needs to be ironed, barely washed, a bit of talcum powder before I put it on and it'll be fine. But life is, I tell you what, man, and it's absolutely true, right? I mean, the American way of doing these things is very different from the UK way of doing things. I'll tell you a story. And when I lived in London, and I lived in London for 30 years, and I used to go down to the pub on a Friday night and a Saturday night for a couple of beers. And there was a very, very attractive South African girl in there. I can't remember her name now, but she was absolutely gorgeous. And she came over to me and she said, Doogie. And I said, what is it? She said, and I was there having a drink with my mate.
Yeah.
And a wee pal. And she said to me, I've got a bone to pick with you. And I said, what's that? And she said, you never told me that Yannick Gers from Iron Maiden drank in the pub. And I said, well, he does. He's normally here with me, And I said, have you met my little friend Bruce?
Yeah.
She went, hello. And he's like, oh. She was very tall. He's quite small. And she said, Bruce. I said, he's a postman. And she said, oh, okay. I've got a bone to pick with you as well then, Bruce. And he went, okay. And she went into this thing about a parcel not being delivered. And he gave this long-winded, as only Bruce can do, explanation about where the parcel may be. And that was a great lesson for me, because it just shows if you don't dress and act like a rock and roll star, the prettiest girl in the pub thinks you're a postman, And Bruce was brilliant about it. And because he didn't dress, and we're talking about Dickinson, right? From Maiden.
Yeah. I know. I definitely, I'm following.
We're talking about Dickinson from Maiden, and him and I used to sit down there, and I would sit with my headphones on learning Yngwie songs, and he would be sitting down learning Diano songs in 2001 or something, sitting on their lyric books and all this. And nobody bothered him and nobody knew him because he never walked about with an air of grace. Yeah. And I learned a lot from those guys just because this is all we do. We're not wanting to be rock and roll stars.
Yeah.
You either are or you aren't. You can carry off if you want.
Yeah.
But, but that girl thought Bruce was a postman and he went for it like you wouldn't believe, and it was brilliant. And that was a lesson learned for everybody that night.
Yeah. Well, that's a lesson learned for everybody. I mean, myself included, it's times when I think I really want somebody to notice, what I'm doing or who I'm talking to, Can
you imagine being Ozzy or Gene Simmons or something?
Has to be awful.
Where you can't even go to the supermarket and pick up some beans.
Yeah. Well, Gene's a narcissist, though. He loves that crap. I mean,
okay.
I think he does anyway. I assume he does.
I just couldn't. I just couldn't live my life like that. I couldn't live my life like that.
Well, this has been an extraordinary honor for me. I mean,
speak to you as well.
Truly, thank you so much. It's so kind, and if you ever talk to Bruce, tell him Rob would love it. I'd love to catch up with him too. The postman,
Bruce the postman. He had his wee postman's jacket on, and I think he bought it out of a second-hand shop.
I love it. Yeah. Well, I hope to see you on tour somehow, someday, some way. And I hope we'll stay in touch. You're a fantastic human and a hell of a singer. And thank you for making time today. I mean, really, so much time, Doogie. Thank you so much. This was really a big deal for me.
Hey.
Thanks, bud.
Thanks a lot.
No!